that is a long patch. All right, let's just take a break. When I last spoke with you about this expansion of the pedal board, I had placed pedals in a certain order on the board, and I was about to wire. This board, you'll remember, is a Pedaltrain Terra. It's quite large. It's 42 inches wide. Now, it turns out that because the Strymon power supply, the main power supply, has 3 lengths of power cables, and because you can then take 2 more extender packs, the Ojais, and place them under the board and closer to pedals that are further out, getting the power to the pedals at any of those corners is going to be perfectly possible with the Strymon and or the Ojais. So power patching is not the issue. Totally different problem though comes about when you try to put the audio cables in. So in video you haven't seen, and I'm not going to bother showing you in any length, I hooked up all the power to all the pedals, and then I turned the board over and I said, okay, now let's start dealing with the audio cables, and I ran into troubles. So I think I want to put the wah right after the EQ. I can either leave it where it is. I would have to take a somewhat longer one and go from the output of here to the input on the other side. Okay, that'll work. And then we would take from the output here to the resitron. Is that going to work? Might. Let's just see if we've got enough length there to do it. So the resitron in is right there. So I can do it. I'd have to get a longer cable if I wanted this to go this way. That's a 6-inch cable running underneath. I like the idea of having the wah on the outside though. Just for fun, let's see what happens if we switch the position of these two in terms of spacing. Well, if we do this, we've still got good room there. And I think things get a lot easier in terms of, going from the wah out into the resitron, just like that. Now with the exotic wah, I note that the plate is held to the bottom by the feet screws. All right, so one thing leads to another, and of course, you'll see from the look of the pedal board now, it looks completely different than it did before. I've put the wah pedal in the center. The main reason for this is because I'm going to have to attach it, because it has these large feet on it. I can't use Velcro to stick it to the board, at least not Velcro alone. What I'm going to have to do is wrap 2 twist ties around underneath the pedal where there's space, not in a place where this twist tie will occlude the operation of the pedal, but somewhere where I can get it around this vertical bar. You see, that's the problem. The twist ties have to go this way. They can't go this way. And therefore I need something that's this way so that the twist tie can go around it and secure the pedal to the board. So that meant put the pedal in the middle. Okay, fine, that's not bad, and I've got probably sufficient space here on both sides. It does make for some logistical problems with respect to the lengths of wires and whatnot. You'll recall that I go from my input for the guitar into the EQ first. That's because I want to shape the sound of the guitar before it even enters the signal chain at all, like the rest of the effects pedals. From the EQ into the wah, from the wah into the resitron, from the resitron into the Deja Vibe, from the Deja Vibe into the Twin Bender. The Twin Bender will then feed into the buffer. We'll then create a loop from the buffer that goes first to the Atlas, then to the Pog 2, then to the Phase 90, then to the Way Huge Conspiracy Theory, the JHS, and then the amp emulator, the amp and cabinet emulator. I've left some space up here so that the switch here is roughly equal to the switch over here from the center of the wah pedal. That's just to minimize any problems where if I hit this, I'm not doing that. Or this, and I'm not doing that. I've tried to give as much space as I can, and given the size of the board, between the pedals here. And then I've moved the echo and the reverb down here because everything's been shifted around so as to take into account the need to put this in the middle. So that's what's happened. Basically, everything has just shifted a bit. About a quarter of the pedals have changed positions from up to low and from right to left. I don't know whether the wiring's going to work given the leads I've got, or whether or not to purchase additional longer leads. So the start of the chain is the input jack, which is right here. So this orange cable has to go to the first pedal in the chain, which is this. I don't think that's going to be much of a stretch. Let's just see. No, we're fine. So now from there, I'll might as well just finish the output here, okay? That's going to be from the last pedal in the chain, which is going to be way over here. Because that's the end of the buffer loop. I'm not even sure that a 24-inch will fit, but let's just see. We might have to rethink where that buffer goes. If I put it right there, could probably make it work. I'm going to put it right about there. Okay, then we are going to go from our loop out to the first pedal in the loop. This may do it. No, it's not going to do it. So we'll use a 12-inch for that. And then we're going to go back to here, from here. And that is a long patch. This is 12 inches. Here's another 12. So we have to get to loop in. We're going to need another 24-inch length. So that pauses our efforts for today because closing the loop, going from here to the buffer, requires that 24-inch. There was no way I could wire them all up without having at least one, probably two 2-foot leads. So I get these two 24-inch cables and I say, okay, I think I've got everything I need now to make this pedal board work. But at that stage, the pedal board looked like this. That's where I ended up after a number of permutations and combinations that tried to get everything to work. And the ending result was that I ended up with breaking my rule. You see over here where I've got two pedals in the middle. They're not particularly well located. I've got switches that are closer together than I wanted them to be. And so that's when I decided, okay, there's a rethink necessary. Now you'll see that the buffer and one other pedal over on what would be my left-hand side when I'm looking at the pedal board in the proper way. You'll see it's on the right-hand side as viewed in the video. Those two pedals are in the middle of the two rows, which is precisely where I didn't want anything to be. I didn't want to have a 3-pedal deep pedal board if I could avoid it. I wanted to leave lots of room for my feet to get around and be clumsy and everything else. That was one of the virtues of having a large board. By the time I actually got the 24-inch patch cables, I was busy doing other things, and when I finally came back to it, I'd seen some more videos. And I've learned to put a bit more faith into the fuzz that I ordered, or that I have. A little bit more faith in the impede knob. I saw a video in which there was a fuzz and a wah combination. And although everyone will tell you put your fuzz as your first pedal in the chain, that wasn't the way some artists, like for example Jimi Hendrix, did it. They would have the wah pedal first, then go into the fuzz. Well, what happened was when they put the wah in front of the fuzz, it just didn't work. And to my surprise, the solution was actually to use a buffer. The buffer solved the problem of the wah pedal and the fuzz pedal interacting badly. So I don't think it's as easy as simply saying, always put your fuzz before the buffer. I think there's a lot more going on there, mathematically, electronically, something above my pay grade. I decided to put no stock in putting the fuzz first. If it turns out to be a problem that I didn't put it first, I can always rearrange. And as a result of that, I decided I was going to sit back and reconsider pedal order. My thinking was any kind of tone changing effect I want to come right after the EQ. Any kind of tone enhancement effect I want to come after the EQ. But before things like flanger, chorus, any kind of echo, any kind of reverb. So in other words, I want to be able to make a guitar sound a certain way, not necessarily in the way where you modulate to the point where you say, oh, he's using this pedal or he's using that pedal. I want effects that you don't even realize are on. Some of the best effects, as Van Halen noted, were the ones you couldn't tell were on. And in fact, I hope to demonstrate that in this video series. But that's my philosophy on this. If, for example, you take the micro-pitch delay, and it's capable not only of doing these micro-pitched adjustments, but also doing small echo effects, that's a thickener, right? You're trying to thicken the sound of the guitar. So even if it's clean, what you're trying to do is give it a bigger sound, not only by doubling up the tones, that's the pitch bending part, but the echo is, for example, like a slap. A very short slap can make it sound like there's a punch and a hit, if you know what I mean. So it's pa-boom, pa-boom. And the shorter the echo, the less detectable it is. It just sounds like a bang on the guitar, that it's a bit more big than it normally would if you simply picked the guitar. Well, I'm going to be using effects in that way to sort of shape the sound, not in an obvious way, but to just make it sound big. And so again, I'm not going to deal with problems of impedance and that kind of thing yet. I'll deal with those after the fact. I'm not going to concern myself with electrical wiring because it turns out there's enough wiring length to reach everywhere on the board. The real issue is going to be, are the pedals where I want them to be, and will the leads reach those pedals?